line, moving in hopefully a good direction. Joe?
All right, thanks. Andrew, Jack Dorsey announced during Square's earnings call earlier this month that the company had no intention of adding new cryptocurrencies to its Cash App and would be committing, though, to Bitcoin. Square is expected soon to publish its latest white paper on Bitcoin, which has recently come off its all-time highs. Joining us now is Michael Saylor, MicroStrategy Chairman and CEO. We constantly talk about the regulatory overhang, Michael, and we got some new data points on Wednesday. You know, Republicans and Democrats have different views, but all of it looks like there will be more scrutiny. You continue, can I call you a stacker? MicroStrategy is a stacker. You added, what, 9,000 coins?
Giga stacker. Giga stacker.
You added 9,000 coins. I think you're up to about $7 billion worth. I don't know if I did the math on today's price, but out of your entire market cap of $7.4 billion. For a while, in the mid-60s, everyone was up. Everyone had made money. That's not the case anymore. Would you stack right now? Would you wait for a further pullback? How do you do it?
We're going to keep stacking forever, Joe, forever. Yeah, the issue is crypto's going mainstream. You know, we hit all-time highs last week, and now there's volatility. Inflation's gone mainstream. And so what's causing the volatility? The volatility is driven by exchange leverage, the altcoins, some security tokens, DeFi, wash trading, the novelty of crypto, and the excessive growth, right? And that doesn't surprise me. I think people have been waiting for clarity from regulators, and over the past month, we got a lot of clarity. The report on stablecoin is telling the world that they want stablecoins issued by FDIC-insured banks. The Crenshaw report is telling the world that DeFi as we know it will not continue. The spot ETF denial report is telling the world that the regulators want crypto exchanges to meet national securities exchange rule and standards. And the infrastructure bill is putting into question staking and DeFi. Now, there's one thing that's for certain, Joe. The world wants two things. The world wants a digital dollar, US dollar, and they don't want 100 billion of it. They want 10 trillion of it or 20 trillion. The Chinese want it. The Africans want it. The Asians want it. They want it from an FDIC insured bank or like. And the world wants a digital asset that's a store of value, and Bitcoin is universally accepted as that common property store of value. So those two things are clear. Everything else is murky. The market's trying to sort out what all this means.
We're getting a lot of data points, you said that earlier, about inflation too. And gold made a move, finally. It made some people are surprised it hasn't made more of a move. And I think you can go back, I don't know, can you go back a decade? Probably, and we're a little changed. Is it your view that Bitcoin has replaced or will replace or is in the process of replacing gold as the store of value for most investors?
There's a war. Yeah, there's a war for non-sovereign bearer instrument store of value. And it's Bitcoin versus silver and gold. And gold's 10 trillion and Bitcoin is 1 trillion. And it's pretty clear that Bitcoin is winning, gold is losing. Of all the commodities in the world, the only one that isn't suffering from inflation in the last 12 months is gold. You want to eliminate inflation, build everything with 24 karat gold, it won't go up in price. Bitcoin's definitely winning that struggle, and it's going to continue because you can move $1 billion block of digital gold at the speed of light. You can program it 60 times a second, and the maintenance cost is much lower. The custodial rates are much higher. So it's pretty clear that digital gold is going to replace gold this decade.
There are probably some troubling things in the infrastructure bill about how the tax treatment of Bitcoin, but it doesn't happen right away. Do you think between now and when it's supposed to happen that it won't happen? Or, I mean, that's an overhang on the future of Bitcoin for being more than just a store of value, for being much more utilitarian, isn't it?
You know, I'm not at all trouble with any of the regulation going on right now. The safe haven for institutions is to use Bitcoin as a store of value. Bitcoin's the only ethical, technical, and legal safe haven in the entire crypto ecosystem, right? It's more technically secure because of the ASICs and the proof of work mining. It's more politically secure because of the support for the miners by the politicians in every jurisdiction. It's more ethically secure because it is universally acknowledged as common property. So if your use case is to buy $1 billion of Bitcoin and hold it forever in lieu of gold or in lieu of property or in lieu of a stock portfolio, that without all the risks of stocks and equities and bonds and all the headaches of precious metals, then Bitcoin meets that use case. All of the sound and fury in Washington is going to have an impact on security tokens, DeFi exchanges, crypto exchanges, all the other use cases of crypto that are not Bitcoin. And that's where we'll see all of this settle. And that's why there's volatility right now.
So if you were to try to look at the eventual adoption of Bitcoin and divide whatever that is by 21 million, what number do you think is realistic in the future? And I don't know whether people should never try to do a target and a time for when you hit the target because you can't get both right. But what you think it's worth $1 million a coin someday, Michael?
The big idea is every currency in the world collapses into the US dollar stable coin, and the US dollar is the universal medium of exchange for the world. And people seeking a long-dated store of value asset, a synthetic asset, they start to demonetize that second investment property, and they demonetize gold, and they demonetize an equity index. So what do I expect? I expect that Bitcoin, if it doubles every year at the end of the decade, it will have flipped gold, and then it'll flip monetary indexes, a little bit of bonds, a little bit of real estate, a little bit of equity, and emerges as $100 trillion asset class. So 100x where it is right now. And when we get there, it'll be 5 to 7% of the worldwide economy. The US dollar will probably replace 150 currencies. Maybe there'll only be 2 or 3 left. There might be the euro, the CNY, the dollar. Everything else is probably going to disappear. And then Bitcoin will be the world's monetary index. If you simply want to keep your money and you don't want to express a credit sentiment or an equity sentiment or some property or real estate sentiment.
And what if a country decides, either China, I don't know how China is going to react to that scenario, or even the United States? Is it unstoppable, or getting to that point you just described? Does it depend on what happens with very powerful central governments?
I think Bitcoin is unstoppable as digital property. I think what you're going to see is 3 classes of countries. The communist countries that don't give you property rights won't, like North Korea or Cuba, won't let you own anything. They'll probably ban it. The countries that have weak currencies will have capital controls. They will let you own it, but they don't want you to exchange it or trade it. It's not illegal to own Bitcoin in China. They just don't want you moving billions of dollars out of their economy. You see a collapse of currencies like Argentina, the peso is 200 to 1. In Turkey, you see the lira is 11. It used to be 1.5 15 years ago. So the weak currencies will have capital controls. They'll let you own it as property. And of course, in the Western nations where they have strong currencies in the US dollar, of course, it's going to be deemed property. You'll pay capital gains tax on it when you sell it. And otherwise, it's pretty clear it crossed the chasm. It's universally acknowledged as common digital property, and it's the only crypto asset that has that standing. That's what makes it the institutional safe haven asset in this space. Michael
Saylor, you obviously you have put your money exactly where you believe things are headed with MicroStrategy. We appreciate you coming on. I listen. I don't know what to think of all that, but that is amazing. Just what you just described. Completely amazing to me. No wonder.
Thanks for having me, Joe.
You're welcome. We'll see you later. Thanks. When we come back, another week wrapping up in the fraud trial of Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes. Prosecution expected to rest as soon as this morning. We've got a live report with the latest details next. Stay tuned. You're watching Squawk Box on CNBC.